1:15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Romesh Piris and read by Geethanjali Ramanayaka. The headlines. The President leaves for Dubai to attend COP28 climate conference. The Debt Restructuring Committee confirms the policy agreement on the financial assurance in restructuring Sri Lanka's debt. The new acting IGP assumes duties. The Inland Revenue Department says the annual income report should be submitted before the end of November. India to build 10,000 more houses in Sri Lanka's plantation areas. The DMT says delayed driving licenses to be issued within the next 6 months. At least 20 injured after bus topples in Valikanda. International news, Israel and Hamas agree to extend truce for the 7th day. In sports, it's cricket. Pakistan cricketers told to prioritise country after poor World Cup. News in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe is slated to travel to Dubai, United Arab Emirates today to attend the 2023 United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP28. The 28th Conference of the Parties of the UNFCCC will be held until December 12th, with the aim of tackling pressing climate change issues and addressing critical decisions. President Wickremesinghe, accompanied by 3 ministers, 2 opposition MPs and 20 young participants passionate about environmental concerns, will take part in this pivotal conference in Dubai. The primary objective is to harness support and collaboration from countries in the tropical belt to influence policy-making decisions on a global scale, according to the President's media division. The conference will convene world leaders, public-private representatives, environmentalists and scholars. President Wickremesinghe will be envisioning 3 key focal points at the event: the launch of the Climate Justice Forum, the Tropical Belt Initiative and the establishment of a climate change university. State Minister of Finance Shahan Semasinha stated that the Debt Restructuring Committee, co-chaired by Japan, India and France, has confirmed the policy agreement on the financial assurances in restructuring Sri Lanka's debt in accordance with the debt restructuring standards which are outlined by the International Monetary Fund. The State Finance Minister said the agreement of all the officials creditors of Sri Lanka in restructuring debt is a very important milestone, and it is also a major step in overcoming the economic crisis in Sri Lanka. He added that the approval of the official debt restructuring committee will enable the approval of the executive board to release the second installment after the completion of the first review of the International Monetary Fund program in December. This will enable other partners such as the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank to provide further financial assistance. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
අපට නැතිවම බැරිද?
The new Acting Inspector General of Police, Deshamandu Tennakoon, assumed duties in his new role this morning. Tennakoon was serving as the Senior Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of the Western Province at the time of his appointment yesterday. Speaking to the media last evening, Acting IGP Tennakoon vowed to eradicate the drug menace and organized criminal gangs in the country. He also said he would prioritize safeguarding the national security. The appointment was made by President Ranil Wickremesinghe pursuant to the powers vested with him. Accordingly, SDIG Tennakoon will serve as the Acting IGP for a period of 3 months. Meanwhile, Speaker of Parliament Mahinda Apabewardena confirmed that President Wickremesinghe has informed the Constitution Council of the new acting IGP. Tennakoon's appointment comes days after former Police Chief C.D. Wickramaratne decided to finally retire from the police service with effect from November 25th after receiving 4 service extensions as the IGP this year. India is planning to build 10,000 houses in the plantation areas of Sri Lanka as an extension of its housing project in the island nation. The High Commission of India in a statement said it has signed 2 significant agreements for the construction of 10,000 houses in plantation areas of Sri Lanka and the fourth phase of the Indian housing project on Tuesday. Separate agreements with two implementing agencies, National Housing Development Authority, State Engineering Corporation, are aimed at the early rollout of construction of the 10,000 houses. The fourth phase of Indian housing project is spread across 11 districts and 6 provinces in Sri Lanka. The High Commission statement recalled that the overall commitment of the Indian government under the Indian housing project currently stands at 60,000 houses. At least 20 people have sustained injuries after a bus veered off the road and toppled in Singhapura, Valikanda this morning. The injured have been admitted to the Valikanda Divisional Hospital before being transferred to Polonnaruwa Divisional General Hospital for immediate medical attention. According to the police, the driver had lost control of the vehicle and failed to control the speed. The bus had been transporting at least 75 employees of a private company. And that ends local news for now.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatma.
According to the existing Inland Revenue Law, the annual income report for the assessment year 2022-2023, that is from 1st of April 2022 to the 31st of March 2023, must be submitted to the Inland Revenue Department before the 30th of November. They further pointed out that a fine of 50,000 rupees and a 5% of the tax payable will be imposed on those who maintain tax files without submitting the report by the relevant date. The Inland Revenue Department made this disclosure during a workshop held in Parliament on Monday on the completion of the annual income report and the submission to Inland Revenue Department online, organized by the Sectoral Oversight Committee on alleviating the impact of the economic crisis with the contribution of resources from the Inland Revenue Department. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatma.
In Watchlight this afternoon, the Commissioner General of Department of Motor Traffic, Nishantha Anuruddha Veerasinghe, states that all driver's licenses which could not be printed due to the non-availability of printers would be issued within the next 6 months. The Commissioner General mentioned around 900,000 driving licenses are to go into print. He added that 3 new printers were received by the department on Monday, paving the way to make arrangements to recommence printing this week. The DMT Commissioner also mentioned that the department has received a complaint regarding a racket charging 5,000 rupees to issue driver's licenses unlawfully. He said that the department's investigation unit has been instructed to immediately look into the matter. And that came to you in Watchlight. Up next is World News, the headlines. Israel and Hamas agree to extend truce for 7th day. Progressive U.S. lawmakers renew calls for ceasefire in Israel-Hamas war. And U.S. foreign policy giant Henry Kissinger dies aged 100. The truce between Israel and Hamas has been extended for a 7th day, sources from both sides announced just minutes before the agreement was set to expire. Israel's military said today that the temporary pause in fighting in the Gaza Strip will continue in light of the mediators' efforts to continue the process of releasing hostages and subject to the terms of the agreement. In a separate statement, Hamas said an agreement has been reached to extend a temporary ceasefire, which initially began on Friday. The truce will be extended for another 24 hours. Qatar, which has been mediating between the two sides, said the agreement was being extended under the same terms as in the past, under which Hamas has released 10 Israeli hostages per day in exchange for 30 Palestinian prisoners. Advocates calling for the ceasefire in Gaza were often interrupted by their own tears as they gathered outside the White House and read the names of Palestinians killed in the war. Several speakers, including Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib and actor Cynthia Nixon and Denny Benton, took turns reading from a long list of names on Wednesday evening. But they barely got through a fraction of the more than 15,000 Palestinians killed in Israeli attacks. Activists warned that the list of the dead would only grow if the current truce is allowed to expire and a permanent ceasefire is not secured. Henry Kissinger, controversial Nobel Prize winner and diplomatic powerhouse whose service under 2 presidents left an indelible mark on U.S. foreign policy, died at his home in Connecticut on Wednesday at the age of 100, connecting to the geopolitical consulting firm Kissinger Associates Incorporation. Kissinger had been active past his centenary, attending meetings in the White House, publishing a book on leadership styles, and testifying before a Senate committee about the nuclear threat posed by North Korea. Labour-own policy, Kissinger was reticent on personal matters, although he once told a journalist he saw himself as a cowboy hero riding off alone. Back to the headlines of the world news. Israel and Hamas agreed to extend truce for 7th day. Progressive US lawmakers renew calls for ceasefire in Israel-Hamas war. And US foreign policy giant Henry Kissinger dies aged 100. And that ends world news.
Development news.
State Minister of Provincial Council and Local Government Janak Wakkumbara announced that President Ranil Wickremesinghe has allocated 1,500 million rupees for the Greater Kandy Urban Development Programme in this year's budget. The State Minister disclosed that an allocation of 1,000 million rupees has been set aside to facilitate tourists through the involvement of local authorities as part of a special project for the development of tourism. He made this announcement during a press conference held at the Presidential Media Centre under the theme Collective Path to a Stable Country. The State Minister further commented, outlining plans for a comprehensive development program in the year 2024. A substantial budget of over 34,000 million rupees has been allocated to cover all 9 provinces of the island. And that was development news.
Moving on with sports news.
Pakistan's cricketers have been told to prioritise country over leagues, with the new director of cricket warning against signing up for T20 franchises 2 weeks after the South Asian nation wrapped up its poor run at the ICC Cricket World Cup. Pakistan, who won the 50-over tournament in 1992, lost 5 of its 9 matches at the World Cup, including the marquee clash against host India, and failed to make it to the semi-finals. After the dismal run, the team's management underwent an overhaul. Former captain and all-rounder Mohammad Hafiz has taken over the role of the team director, and former Pakistan bowler Umar Gul and Saeed Ajmal are also part of the new-look support staff as bowling coaches. And that was sports news.
Go ekakiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyameta set wenna as wahagena dagapu veena habe kalanna youth ekata niyameta set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Navigating the complexities of international trade can be daunting for small and medium enterprises in Sri Lanka. Ceylon Bank's game-changing Export Expert service is specifically designed to empower SMEs. It is an innovative offering that provides comprehensive support and acknowledge sharing, empowering SMEs to excel in the global market, even in these challenging times, by equipping them with the necessary financial literacy they require. In a proactive move to encourage SMEs amidst the pandemic and economic uncertainties, Ceylon Bank's Export Expert Service stands out as a beacon of support with a holistic understanding of the needs of SMEs. Ceylon Bank's commitment to the cause is unwavering, as they aim to foster an environment that helps SMEs flourish on a global scale. And that was Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekakiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyameta set wenna as wahagena dagapu veena habe kalanna youth ekata niyameta set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
The Coconut Development Authority has planned to hand over 125 million rupees from the income earned this year to the Treasury. The relevant cheque was symbolically handed over on Wednesday to the Minister of Agriculture and Plantation Industries, Mahinda Amaravira, by the Chairman of the Coconut Development Authority at the Minister of Plantation Industries. The Minister of Agriculture and Plantation Industries said that steps will be taken to hand over this amount to President Ranil Wickremesinghe in the coming week. The Minister also mentioned that many institutions under the Minister of Plantation Industries are at the level of making profits, so he would like to thank all those staff for making arrangements to give a part of the income to the Treasury. And that was economic news.
Weather report.
The Meteorology Department forecast showery weather conditions to enhance over the island due to an atmospheric disturbance over the southwest Bay of Bengal Sea area as the northeast monsoon is gradually establishing over the island. Showers or thundershowers will occur at times in the northern, north central and eastern provinces. Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places in other provinces of the island in the afternoon. Heavy showers, about 100 millimeters, are likely at some places in the northern, eastern, central and Uva provinces. The general public is kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damage caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thundershowers. And that was the weather report. Prior to concluding this news broadcast, the headlines again. The President leaves for Dubai to attend COP28 climate conference. The Debt Restructuring Committee confirms the policy agreement on the financial assurance in restructuring Sri Lanka's debt. The new acting IGP assumes duties. The Inland Revenue Department says the annual income report should be submitted before the end of November. India to build 10,000 more houses in Sri Lanka's plantation areas. The DMT says delaying driver's licenses to be issued within next 6 months. At least 20 injured after bus topples in Valikanda. International news, Israel and Hamas agree to extend truce for the 7th day. In sports, Pakistan cricketers told to prioritize country after poor World Cup. And with that, we end this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation, and it's back to Victor Raj.